What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Crowded Lake. Today we're reading chapters 3 and 4 of the Sander Science fanfic Bad Moon Rising by Bekka911. All trigger warnings will be in the description below, as well as Bekka's links so you could go support them, because yes, support the good fics. This is the last book in the series, so if you want to recommend what I read after this, there is a Google form in the description where you could recommend future fics. With that being said, here is Chapter 3. Patton's room had an overwhelming smell of citrus, and Deceit hissed quietly to himself. He could hear Patton's rapid breathing, could almost feel the self-deprecation in the air. He could play for a little while. He supposed. He'd seen how Patton reacted, see how much fun Deceit have missing with Virgil at favorite light side. "You're doing the right thing, you know," he purred, slinking out into the open. The brief terror that spread through Patton's eyes made Deceit's choice for him. Too bad the game was cut short as Patton started singing quietly to himself. Fine, Deceit could play that game. He had things to do anyway. Things that needed his attention more than Patton did right now. "You think you could protect him forever?" He kept his voice soft and gentle, because Patton needed a friend right now, and Deceit could be that for a little while. Patton would need him eventually, and as soon as that day dawned, Deceit would ruin them. Virgil would learn that the dark sides were his real family. Deceit vowed that. "Please, consider." He breathed to Patton, and then the shadows swept him away. He'd sown the seeds of doubt, now to let that garden grow. "You're playing the long game," Remus said, conversationally as Deceit passed. "Trust me, I love long things, but this is borderline ridiculous. My dearest snake in the grass, why not just go to Virgil directly?" Unfortunately, the Duke brought up a good point. Why didn't Deceit just go to Virgil? Deceit didn't have an honest answer. "I want him to come to us," he hissed, lying through his teeth. That was what his specialty was, dishonesty. Remus wasn't owed an answer. Deceit could do whatever he wanted. He wasn't some petulant child who needed a babysitter. "I want him to remember, and I want those memories to drive him here, to force him away from his pleasant little friends, to make him come home." Remus gave him a considering look, oddly solemn. Deceit glared back. "You know," Remus said slowly, something twisted, making his eyes look sharp and bright. Deceit's glare intensified. "This seems to go beyond getting Virgil back for us. What's so personal about this, Dee Dee? Why are you so insistent on getting him back, and why are you so upset by the light sides?" Deceit ground his teeth together in frustration. Remus was getting too close, asking too many questions that Deceit couldn't answer. There was too many whys floating around, and he didn't know why. He just didn't know. "I want him back where he belongs," he spat through gritted teeth. "I hate people who pretend." Remus gave him a knowing because Deceit had just given himself away. "You pretend, do you not?" And no, that's not what Deceit meant at all. Damn it. He snarled lowly. "I am dishonest, Duke, and I lie. I do not pretend." Deceit's face was burning with rage when Remus strutted away, cackling to himself. For a liar, the snake was really bad at lying. Why didn't he confront Virgil himself? Why not come out and say it? Why make the game stretch on longer than it had to? Maybe because Deceit wanted to destroy Virgil's relationship with the Lightsides. If they weren't friends, if they were angry at him or scared of him, Virgil would come running back to the dark sides. He would run home. and nobody would come after him to bring him back. Yes, that sounded right. That didn't sound like a lie. Still, the seat was troubled as he slipped into the shadows and felt something cold grip onto his soul. Time is running out, Deceit, a voice hissed from the darkness, and Deceit couldn't stop the chills that broke out across his skin. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. I get it, he growled lowly, eyes flickering back and forth, trying to find where the voice was coming from. He found nothing but unending icy black. Something dangerously close to fear crushed his chest, squeezed his throat, crippled his heartbeat. He loathed in the feeling. He loathed it. I want this to be easy. The voice let out a breathy laugh, and Deceit struggled a bit harder. The shadows didn't let him go. Tick-tock, Deceit, the voice whispered. Tick-tock. All too suddenly, he could breathe again, and he stumbled out of the darkness and into his room. Stupid, stupid, stupid. It was stupid to think he could wriggle out of this one. The others were expectant now, were waiting for him to bring Virgil back to them. They missed him. They wanted him. Something sour gripped him, and he knocked the bowler hat off his head and ruffled his hair, hissing to himself. He just wanted Virgil back. Was that such a bad thing? He wanted Virgil back because it wasn't fair that Virgil could just walk away and leave them alone and not care. Virgil didn't get to rest easy. Virgil was supposed to always look over his shoulder, keep one eye on the shadows. How far the dark sides have fallen. Virgil had tricked himself into forming some form of bond. How utterly foolish. Deceit bared his teeth, pacing. He'd get Virgil back for them. He would sweep in. He would burn it all. Remus could go to hell with all his questions. Deceit was doing this for Virgil, and that was all. Virgil needed to get back with them, with his family. He was doing it for Virgil. The shadows choked on mocking laughs as he slipped away, face set in grim determination. The 4th. He slid into Patton's room again, the citrus spell less confronting and more familiar. Deceit still wanted to gag, feeling the scent stuff itself up his nose and down his throat. These damn light sides and their sensitivities. Deceit despised them. How could Virgil stand to be around them? Just being in Patton's room made Deceit's head hurt, made his stomach turn, made his skin itch. Every atom in his body was begging to flee, flee, get out, get out. He wasn't made to be here. He wasn't supposed to be here. Where were the shadows? Why is it so bright and not heavy? Why? Deceit threw himself back into the darkness moments before Patton appeared in his room. Deceit almost let himself be sucked back into his own room, but something about Patton's face gave him pause. The light side's eyes were cold and vacant, filled with a twisted emotion Deceit had never identified the morality to have. He almost wanted to reach into Patton's soul and dip a finger in the darkening mark. He wanted to pull the thread and watch Patton unravel. How deliciously vicious it would be. You know, Patton, you're an astonishingly complex being, he crooned, stalking out of the shadows. Patton's heated glare fell upon him, and Deceit almost shuddered. He'd never seen Patton look so dark. He smiled. When I imitated you the first time, it was almost too easy. Too boring. How dull it was to play you. What with the others rendering you nothing more than an over-emotional fool who knew nothing of value. Patton's eyes flared brighter, but there was something defeated there too, and Deceit smirked. Forget his own troubles when exploiting Patton's was so enjoyable. He let himself go a little and giggled, feeling something hysterically maniacal claw its way up his throat. The Duke must have infected him with something. Such power you hold over them, Deceit purred quietly, feeling that sense of power send him higher and higher. Such power you have over Thomas. You're truly the most important side. For one, he wasn't really lying. Stop it, Patton said quietly, but where Deceit expected a pleading tone of voice, there was nothing but a dry sense of finality. The light side hummed to himself, expression flat. Deceit had to push harder, had to dig his fingers in a little tighter. If I were to imitate you again, it would be far more difficult, I expect. So many layers. Complex, tangled emotions. Deceit peered into Patton's eyes, and his malicious grin widened. Denial. That one's my personal favorite. Seriously, cross my heart. There was a delicious anger, that simmering overflow of negativity and fear and self-deprecation. Deceit had been waiting for it to come out, had been waiting to see how deep the rabbit hole really went. I think that you're only scary because you're only scary because you don't want to admit what you mean for Thomas. Deceit raised an eyebrow because Patton thought he sounded steady, but there was a sort of wild worry in him that made Deceit feel so much better. Listen, Patton continued, I don't want nor need you hissing in my ear all the time. Just go away. Deceit pouted. But, Patton, dearest, why would you send me away when I'm the only person you could trust? Push, push, push. Patton scoffed. Trust you? A dishonest man you could always trust to be dishonest, Deceit quoted. Honestly, it's the honest ones you should watch out for. He had no excuse for the shameless pop culture references. He just loved Pirates of the Caribbean. Patton sighed. Pirates of the Caribbean? He asked, and Deceit could see the walls lowering, could see Patton softening, could see his way in. Wouldn't have pegged you for the type. He was getting in. He was getting through Patton. There's so much deception and backstabbing in those movies, Deceit responded coyly. How could I not love them? Movies aside, the quote is relevant. Time to set it up. I am an honest man you could always trust to be dishonest. Can you trust the others, Patton? Can you trust that they won't lie to you and hurt you and twist you around their fingers? Patton's head lowered, his chin touching his chest as he chewed on his bottom lip. Deceit could see the thoughts behind those brown eyes. Patton was weakening. Patton was doubting. Patton was darkening and breaking and giving in, and it was glorious. But it was taking too long, causing too much trouble. Deceit wanted Patton to surrender now, without a fight, without argument. Deceit needed time to get to Virgil, but he didn't have time. Tick-tock, Deceit. Patton was quiet, and Deceit was growing impatient. How far in denial did the light side have to be? He opened his mouth to push some more, but Patton raised a chin, looked right into Deceit's eyes, and said, You don't bother me. Deceit hummed, the playfulness suddenly gone. He didn't have the time or the patience for this. He loved to play games, but only when he was winning, and he wasn't sure he was winning in this one. And yet, I bring out your anger, he hissed. I bring out your aggression. I bring out everything you despise in yourself. Think, Patton, and wonder why it is that you're always so defensive around me. Denial is a wonderful thing. You don't bother me. Do you want me to lie to you, Patton? Do you want me to say that I won't break your friendships apart? That I'll leave you alone? That I'll forget about Virgil? Do you want me to say that I'll let Thomas forget me so you can feel better about yourself? You don't bother me. Deceit bared his teeth, eyes alight with a savage wildness. "You won't ever outrun this," he swore. "That is the truth you must bear." He let the shadow swallow him and pretend he didn't hear a clock ticking somewhere in the darkness. Thank you all so much for listening. If you'd like to hear more, there's definitely more stuff on my channel and more to come. So if you subscribe, you'll be able to keep up with all of that. In the description, there is once again the links to all of Bekka's things, which is the fic and their Wattpad. And then the Google form you can recommend fics for the future. There's also some social medias like Discord, Instagram, TikTok, where I do post semi-frequently, not too often, but I'm there. So once again, thank you so much for watching, because I really appreciate the yes. And like always, do your best.